Hello everyone, welcome back, and welcome if you're new. I feel like there are a lot of new subscribers here recently, so thank you very much for actually considering my videos worth watching, and yeah, I really appreciate it so much. But this is going to be my excuse me, October reading wrap-up. I'm a little late doing this, but I was gone over the weekend, as you would have seen in the vlog that I posted yesterday, so I'm gonna get this one, the October wrap-up, done, and also going to quickly film my November TBR. Pile of possibilities, more like it. I'm learning. Buddy, do you want to play? So I had an entire October TBR planned, but then at the beginning of the month I was watching my friend Erica's September wrap-up, and she mentioned Every Little Thing About You by Wick, which is the first book in the Yellow Rose trilogy. And I was like, I have to read that again. Oh my goodness, I love this series so much, and I've read it multiple times. This is probably the 5th time reading this entire series. My favorite is City Girl. But since this is all in one book, I'm just going to talk about all of them at once. I read them like throughout the entire month, but this is the first one we're going to talk about. But this is the Yellow Rose Trilogy by Wick, and it's basically, each book is about one of the 3 brothers. The first one is about Slater, second about Dakota, last one about Cash. His real name is Charles, but they call him Cash. But I don't know. I love Wick so much. Like, I don't know that I can really pick a favorite. Just kidding, I can pick a favorite. I've read The Hawk and the Jewel 11 times, if not more, because I don't know that I was actually keeping track when I first started reading the book. Look, I know that her writing isn't like, some people might find her writing a little boring, a little cheesy, I don't know. But to me, it's just very real, very relatable. The characters are all very relatable and open and honest about their struggles, and they're like very human, but you can also see the grace of God displayed in their lives of like everything. The faith content in her books is why I keep coming back to them, because in almost every single one of these books, I don't know if it's really every one of her books that she's written, but in every single one of these books, the gospel is clearly displayed, like within the storyline, because Dakota is not a Christian in the first book, and it gives his salvation story, Slater gives his salvation story, and Cash also, and then there's several other characters within all of these books who do become believers, and the gospel message is so clearly portrayed in these books, and I just appreciate that so much, because I feel like that's missing in a lot of Christian books, where the author will have mentions of faith and prayer and a relationship with God, but like if someone who is not walking with God, we'll talk about that later, because it's in another book that I'm about to talk about. But anyway, yes. The first one, Every Little Thing About You, is about Slater. He was a Texas Ranger, but he felt called to leave the Texas Rangers, and because he wanted to find a community and find a local church that he could attend, and so that he could grow in his faith, because he is a new Christian. And he walks into town. What's the town called? Shotgun. He walks into the town called Shotgun, where guns are outlawed at night and in the saloon specifically. But he walks in and is unaware of this rule, I guess. Doesn't really say if he's unaware of it or if he just... Anyway, the deputy is called to come handle the situation, and the deputy is actually Liberty. And she walks into the saloon, tells him to hand over his gun, and he hesitates a little too much, and she arrests him. And so then their story goes from there, and I love it so much. It's the sweetest thing. Slater is not happy with Liberty, they call her Libby, being a deputy, because he does not like to see her in danger, because there are several dangerous situations that she has been involved in, and he doesn't like that, and they have to work all of that out. But anyway, I love it so much. And then the second one, A Texas Sky, is about Dakota, the second oldest of the... Slater is the youngest. I don't know if I mentioned that. Dakota is second oldest, and he's also a Texas Ranger. But he is not a believer in the first book. And it's not a spoiler because it happens in the beginning of the book then. But he is in a serious, like, he's in a shootout, and he becomes severely injured and almost dies, and that's when he realized that he needed Jesus, and he does become a Christian. But because of his injuries, his boss is like, you can't come back to work for another 6 months, so you need to just take it easy and rest and heal and then come back. But then he's put on assignment to take his boss's niece to a town, and so they're traveling together, and it's a whole case of mistaken identity, and Darby gets kidnapped, but Dakota is not aware that it happened, and so she's, you know, taken and is missing for several weeks. But people also didn't really realize that she was missing because she never informed her family that she was, or when she was coming home. So that's a whole thing of Dakota finding her again and rescuing her, and then them obviously falling in love. And again, I love the story so much. There's a whole lot more that happens in these books, but anyway, we got to keep moving. And then City Girl. City Girl is my absolute favorite. I quote it so many times, and it's like Erica and I, like, there's this one scene in the story that I'm just I can't. I love it so much. We follow Reagan, who lives in New York, and she moves west to Texas to be a nanny. And she arrives in the town and realizes that the man who wanted a nanny got married, and so he's no longer needing a nanny, and she didn't get the letter in time because she just immediately decided to move out. She's very adventurous and just like a no-nonsense kind of girl, and she's also not a Christian. So she finds a job working at the hotel as a cook, and she meets she meets a family in town who has a little what we would call nowadays an Airbnb. But no, they built out this little shed to be a little home for her, and she rents it out. And these this family are believers, and they are a great witness to Reagan. And anyway, long story short, things happen. Reagan moves to the ranch to help, to be like the housekeeper because of an accident that happened to the housekeeper, and so Reagan feels like it was her fault, and so she moves to the ranch to take over the duties and help take care of Katie, the housekeeper. Katie is Cash's housekeeper, and so, you know, they're together a lot. They see each other a lot, and they get to talk a lot. They get to know each other better. Things happen, you know, all the things. But again, so good. I love this trilogy so much, and it was very fun to just ditch my entire TBR and read a nostalgic book again. It's just good. Love it so much. Then the next one I read was The Secret Adversary, and this one was to fulfill the prompt for Chantel's Read Your Bookshelf Challenge prompt of the month, a title with the word secret in it. So this was my first Agatha Christie, and it is the first in the Tommy and Tuppence series, and I fell in love with the book. It was so great, and you would have seen all of these things in a vlog. I think this was one of the books that I read in the 24-hour readathon that I did, my first one, and I'll link that video up if you haven't seen it yet. This one was so much fun, and I think it was a great start into my Agatha Christie journey because I want to read more of her books. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun. Tommy and Tuppence are friends, and they're trying to find jobs after the war, and they overhear a random name in a cafe, Jane Finn, which originally I found out that the name was actually Jane Fish, and I'm not sure why they changed it, because Jane Fish is definitely more of a unique name that would stand out in a crowd, like in a cafe if you hear the name, than just Jane Finn. But anyway, yeah, it's a whole case. It's more of a case of finding her because she's missing, and she's very important in, like, to the government because She was on the Lusitania when it was attacked and when it was sinking, and all of the women and children were being put on... Come here. Come here. Come here. All of the women and children were being put on the lifeboats, and the stranger walks up to her and is talking to her and asks her to take a package that held very important top secret papers for the government that had to do with the war and everything. And then she disappeared, and so Tommy and Tuppence are hired to find her and figure out where she is, what happened to her, the whole thing. It was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed it. I think I rated it 5 stars. Yes, I rated it 5 stars. It was just a lot of fun. And then the next one, I'm really just going in order on how it's listed on my Goodreads, so basically when I finished it. The next one that I read was The Story Girl by Ellen Montgomery, and I absolutely loved this so much. Again, it's Ellen Montgomery. I adored the characters in this book, especially Peter. I think Peter was actually my favorite. You know, the Story Girl was interesting with all the stories that she remembered and could tell, but Peter, the little friend, he cracked me up so much. I love him, and actually all of the characters in here, they're just really great. Again, it's not really plot driven, it's more just individual stories with chapters, which seems to kind of be the theme of Ellen Montgomery's books. Most of them are not really plot heavy, so anyway, if you love Ellen Montgomery, I'm sure you'll love this one. It was a fun time with all the little cousins and their adventures. Excuse me. My voice just wants to keep giving out. But anyway, the next one that I picked up was Trust Me by Kelly Irvin, and this is a thriller, Christian thriller, and we follow Delaney Broward. This all happens within the first 2 chapters, so these are not spoilers, but her brother was brutally murdered 10 years ago, and then it jumps forward 10 years okay, sorry, back up. She walked in and found her brother killed, murdered, and so it was very traumatic for her. But then it jumps forward 10 years later, and she walks into her friend's shop and finds her murdered in the same way that her brother was killed. And then it turns out that the man that was arrested for her brother's murder was just released from jail that same day or the day before. So again, he looks all suspicious. But he claims his innocence, and he was actually Delaney's boyfriend back in the day. And so they kind of decide to work together. She decides to put aside their differences somewhat. She still doesn't trust him, but she wants to believe that he didn't do it. And so they kind of team up together and try to figure out who actually killed her brother and why, and then who killed Allie. Her brother and Allie were actually dating as well. So it's a whole thing. I enjoyed the story. It was a lot of fun, like, to begin with. Like, in the beginning, the story was really intriguing and very interesting, just following the plot lines and trying to figure out who it was. But then I will have to say that the ending kind of fell flat for me. I kind of figured out what was coming before it came, like the identity of the actual murderer. When it was revealed, I was just like, I saw that coming. It was a little obvious, and I was a little disappointed in that, because I guess I'm like, I love Terry Blackstock's writing, and how sometimes her, like, the reveals are so, like, mind-blowing that I did not see it coming, and I just wanted a little bit more from that. And yeah, like I said, it just kind of fell flat for me. I don't know. If you've read it, let me know what you thought about it. But overall, it was still a very enjoyable book. I really did enjoy it, but there is a lot, I will say that there is a lot of maybe possible trigger warnings with drug abuse and gang-related activities and divorce and remarriage, things like that. So just to put that out there for you guys to be aware of. And this was the book that I was talking about, like when I was talking about the Lori Wick book, about how the gospel is so clearly related. So Delaney obviously does not, she kind of lost her faith in God, and like after her brother was murdered. But her boyfriend, who was put in prison for killing her brother, he was a believer, and he kept his relationship with God like through prison, mostly because of the chaplain, a pastor friend of his, and So like Hunter's faith seemed genuine and I really enjoyed it, but like it was never very clear if Delaney actually was a believer, like to begin with anyway, or if it was just more like a you know, she just professed to be a Christian. Like, I don't know if it was actually a real relationship with God. And so then at the end of the movie, I really wanted more like character development in her, with her getting her faith back in God. And there's a little bit of it, but there wasn't any like distinct point of her life that she was like, okay, God, I'm choosing to place my life in your hands and trust you and believe in you and believe on the work that Jesus did on the cross for me. Like, it wasn't any of that. It was just all of a sudden like things were good again. She was going to church and she was praying again, and like that kind of thing. That bothers me, because just going to church and praying and being a good person isn't what makes you a Christian. It's believing on Jesus and the work that he did on the cross. And yeah, so that was another slight disappointment for me in this book, but I still rated it 3.5 stars, I think. Maybe it's 4 stars on Goodreads. It was still 4 stars, but on Goodreads, but technically 3.5. The next one that I read was Anne of Ingleside. Just continuing the Anne of Green Gables series. I adored this one. I'm telling you, I love all of the books in the Anne series so much. And this one just like made me so excited to be a mom and have kids, and like all of the adventures and the stories that come out of this it's so much fun. And I love to see Anne's response to different problems that her children bring to her, and just like her relationship with the kids. It's the sweetest thing, and just her absolute joy and delight in being a mom to the kids. I think there's like 6 of them. I don't know exactly, but I think it's just the sweetest thing, and I love these so much. Definitely going to keep reading, but I kind of just want to take my time through the series because I don't want them to be over with. Like I don't want to finish the series. Like I don't want it to be done. But you know, it's coming. I'm aware. But anyway, 5 stars. It was so good. I love this. Then the next one was my nonfiction for the month, or one of the nonfictions for the month, was Adorning the Dark by Andrew Peterson. And this one, 5 stars, was so good and so inspiring. I love Andrew's honest, humble approach to his career as a musician and all of the things he experienced with it, but then also all of his advice in being creatives. And I agree with him. He mentioned that he doesn't really like the word creative like being used as a noun, like people calling themselves creatives, because technically all humans are creatives because we are made in the image of God, who is a creator. And so I believe that there is a form of creativity in everyone. It could just look completely different. It could be cooking, it could be actual art, it could be writing music, there's so many things that somebody could be a creative in. And so I really appreciated that perspective. I think it's a little bit more like geared towards songwriters, or just writers in general maybe. But I think anybody could learn from this book and benefit from it, benefit from reading, because it was just very inspiring, and I really loved it so much. It kind of inspired me to actually like maybe dip my toes into songwriting, because I've tried before as a young teenager, because I love music so much. I play the guitar and piano, mostly piano, but I would love to write songs. I just never, I'm too much of a perfectionist, and I don't know, this book just really like helped me put things into perspective, that I could just start, and they don't have to be perfect and whatever. But yeah, again, even if you're not like a songwriter into music, I think you would still very much enjoy this book, and just how we are all as children of God, we are all on a mission to share God's truth and who he is with the world in whatever avenue he's called us to, and we can do that beautifully and by God's grace in whatever we're doing. Anyway, I really enjoyed this book. It was very inspiring, and again, I love I love his humility in all of this, and like pointing out that we do need humility in everything and all that we do. Just like this line here. I am pleasantly expendable, delightfully unnecessary. We're not invited into this because God needs us, but because he wants us. And then later, skip down a few lines, we're invited to join with all nature in manifold witness to his great faithfulness, and since creation is going to declare it either way, we might as well jump in with our half-finished songs and join the chorus. I love that. That's so beautiful. And just that reminder that it's actually okay to be unnecessary, but it's just the fact that God actually wants us to declare his goodness to other people and be a part of his story. It's humbling and also very beautiful. Anyway, really enjoyed it. Pick it up and read it. If you're interested, you know, you don't have to just because I say it's a good book, but you know, there's that. And then the next one that I picked up was kind of a spur of the moment, again ditching the TBR for October, but I picked up A Mission for Meaning by Gabriel Conte on the plane. I bought it on Kindle a couple days before I left for the trip, and decided to read it on the plane, and I knew that it was kind of a short book and a quick read because other people said that they sat down and read it in a couple hours from cover to cover, so I was like, maybe I can do that and just read it on the plane, get it done, and add one more book to the list of completed books in October. And I did. I finished it on the plane, and it was really good. The title is A Mission for Meaning, and then the subtitle, The Choices That Lead to the Life You Really Want. And I'm just going to read the review that I wrote on Goodreads. I followed Jess and Gabriel on YouTube since they were dating. I've always appreciated their content, but most importantly, how unashamedly they talk about their faith in Jesus. This book was so good. A glimpse into Gabe's life, family history. It was a beautiful story, and I can't wait to see where God continues to take them. It was a great reminder that the decisions we make now can and will impact future generations. Even if you don't know who Jess and Gabriel are, I think anyone would enjoy this book and be inspired to live life with a mission and intentionality. So Jess and Gabriel are a young couple. They just had a little girl that I've been following for several years now, since, like I said, when they were dating, and then I watched them get engaged and then married, and just like all of their journey, and that they chose to share with us on the YouTube world. But they're some of my favorite YouTubers, and I just love their authenticity and their faith, or what seems to me to be very genuine faith, because, you know, there are a lot of YouTubers out there who say they're Christian, but their faith isn't as evident in their videos, which is, I mean, that's their call, whatever. But I love how Jess and Gabriel are very much just open and honest about it, but they're not like shoving it down your face type of people either. But this book was just really interesting because Gabriel like gave some insights to his family history and where that led to the present of where he is right now with his life, and just the story of God's grace through all of those generations, and how like the choices we make today will impact our family, our future generations, and just living life with mission and with intentionality. And I thought it was a really, really enjoyable book and a quick, easy read. So there's that one, 5 stars. But that brings me to the end of my October wrap-up. The lighting's getting a little dark. The sun is setting. I think it's supposed to snow tonight. You know, in my vlog I showed that it was snowing, but that was just on the drive, and it was a little farther away from where I actually live. And so we haven't really had snow here yet, and so the first snowfall might come tonight. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you've read any of these books and want to add your thoughts, I would love to hear them. And also let me know what your favorite read of October was in the comments below. I would love to hear it. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Literally soon, in just the next couple minutes, because I'm going to film my November TBR. So anyway, bye guys. Thank you so much for watching.